You're tuned in to Ask the Master Auto Technician. Car questions? Get answers right now. Call 850-763-0555.
James Auto Center, we fix it right, guaranteed. Beep, 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 yeah.
All right, welcome back to Ask the Master Auto Technician. I told you I had Scott Hobbs calling. I do have Scott Hobbs on the phone this morning. Good morning, sir. How are we doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you, sir?
I am doing great. Did you have a good Mother's Day this weekend?
I sure did. I got to spend the whole day with my mother and went to church with her and went out to dinner. It was a good time.
It was. My mother wanted me to go to church with her, but I told her I had to get back to Panama City, Florida as fast as I possibly could. She just smiled and said, Dad, I knew you'd wiggle out of it. I said, yes, Mama, that's your son. I wiggled right out of it.
Right.
She even had her minister ask me, I said, sir, I got to head back at 9 o'clock. That way I can be back by lunchtime, because I have a whole lot of things I have to do as far as preventive maintenance. And the first thing I did, my wife told me, says, our bathroom commode is leaking water. I turned the water off. I said, well, that's really good. That's being proactive. I went back there and looked at it, and it wasn't the high pressure. It was actually the seal that holds the bowl on the tank. And I'm going, okay, you know, I've never heard it. I didn't think they leaked, and never seen this thing leaked when someone was out of town. And that's the thing I was thinking about. I said, you know, here's a perfect example that Scott talks about. When you go out of town, shut your water off. Even though it may be a bowl leaking, that could fill your house up if it continued to leak, even though it's the bowl that's leaking, not a high pressure leak.
Oh, absolutely. You know, there is a rubber gasket between the tank and the bowl, and the chlorine in the water is going to deteriorate that over time. And it's like any kind of rubber product, you know, that's in the sun or exposed to chlorine. It's going to dry it, it's going to crack, it's going to get brittle.
Yep.
And if you think about it, that tank gets, you know, when somebody's sitting on it, it gets leaned against, so it does get some movement.
Right.
So it is a good idea to check those things. And I don't know if you lifted the lid or not, but those bolts will get rusty, super rusty. And actually, sometimes they'll rust out and fall all the way through.
Well, that's
and cause a really major issue.
And that
is a great suggestion. If you're going to be out of town for any extended period of time, go ahead and shut the water off just to be safe.
Well, you know, and that's what I was thinking about. You know, I was gone. She was still here in town, but I was gone. But I left on Friday, and she said by Saturday morning the entire floor of the bathroom was wet. And she said, I cut the water off because I didn't know what it was. Cut the water off at the commode. And I said, that's great. And I said, but I'm so glad you did that, because if you hadn't done that, it would have got to the wooden, you know, into our bedroom, to the wooden floors, and done thousands and thousands of dollars worth of damage for just a 50-cent gasket. And this is something that you do, Mr. Reuter. Y'all go by, and when y'all do when you come by for a house call, y'all do a cursory inspection of things such as this. Am I correct?
Oh, absolutely. You know, with the homeowner's permission, we'll go through and do a complimentary plumbing checkup and take a look at those things that could be causing, you know, concerns down the road or currently. You know, sometimes, you know, things will be dripping under a sink or under a lavatory and not really be aware of it. It can cause not just, you know, problems with the plumbing, but secondary issues with, you know, mold growth and things like that.
The other thing I have found out, you're not going to believe this guy, we had a leak under our kitchen sink, and we were having a problem. All of a sudden, we had these little gnats and little fruit flies. Yeah, fruit flies. And I'm going, where the heck are these coming from? And next thing I noticed, we started getting little baby roaches. I went, oh, my God, this is unreal. And I sprayed the house. And finally, the guy said, you've got a problem someplace. You need to look. And I started looking underneath the sink, and sure enough, I had a sink that was leaking, and no telling how long it had been leaking. And it had rotted out the particle board underneath the sink, and all that was wet. You know, that particle board was all rotten, and of course the foundation is of course concrete, no damage there. But that little bit of a drip, you know, every minute or so, one drip over a period of months had rotted out the bottom of the sink, and so that had to be repaired. And you know, we had a lot of secondary damage, like you were talking about, such as had to have pest control come out and go, where is all this coming from? You know, where are these little fruit flies coming from? Because I'd never seen anything like it before, but they were coming from underneath our sink. I had no idea that could happen. And it's kind of embarrassing. You go, you know, I should be doing a better job of preventive maintenance and doing inspections. But this is something that a lot of people, I guess, kind of just fail to look at. And this is where it would be good to have your crew come over there with a fresh set of eyes to look at something. I think that would work a lot better.
That's right. And you'd be surprised surprised at the number of referrals we get from pest control companies because of that very thing.
Really?
The homeowner called out a pest control company because of bugs or issues or whatever, and the pest control company crawls under the house or in a confined space and discovers that there's a plumbing leak. It is a very common, referral that we receive.
I had no idea they would. You would figure if you had your outside of your house sprayed and the inside, you wouldn't have roaches or anything like that happen. But once you get a water leak, it seems like that is a magnet for producing the pests that you don't want, whether it's fruit flies, roaches, silverfish, whatever. And that can all be avoided by having someone like you come over. How often? Once a year? Once every 6 months? Should they have the house checked out for leaks and things like that? What would you recommend?
I would recommend it at a minimum once a year. And there are things that a homeowner can do themselves. If there's a part of the house that's not frequently used, just do a visual inspection, open the cabinets, take a look under, make sure there's nothing moist or wet. Just do that, maybe even on a monthly basis. And one of the products that we offer the customers is BioChoice, and that's a good reminder. Hey, once a month, go around and put this in each one of your drains. While you're there, just do a visual under the sink, behind the commode, to make sure that there's nothing dripping or leaking. And that's just a kind of a routine, maintenance, and it becomes a habit.
Well, and homeowners, you do that once a month or once a year. Have someone like you come over. But rental properties, we've got rental properties, and our biggest problem is that people that rent don't seem to take care of your property as well as you would, and they can have a leak for months and not let it, and they just won't tell anybody about it. And then, we try once every 6 months to inspect our homes, and sometimes it's very difficult because of that same very reason. Just because someone's got a drip, they don't think it's very important, because one drip every 10 minutes on the underneath the sink, that's not causing a problems, but it can infest your house with creatures you don't want to have.
That's right. And mold growth and things like that can cause other issues if you're sensitive to those.
Absolutely, and it's hard to rent out a house that has plumbing problems, that's for sure. But this is one of the things you offer as part of your service. Now, I know that a lot of people call up, they normally only call when a drain is stopped up. I'm sure you see it's crisis management, not preventive management, and that's one of the things that I know that Mr. Reuter is trying to do, is try to get more people to be preventive and not be so crisis. This BioChoice is not very expensive. We were talking about it's once every month. You put 2 ounces down the toilet, 2 ounces down the sink, and it's not caustic. It doesn't. You can actually put your finger in it and taste it. It doesn't have a real good taste to it. It's kind of bland, but it doesn't hurt you. It's not caustic because it's got these good probiotics in it that help encourage the good bacteria that's inside your drain lines to eat the grease up, to eat the hair up, to eat the things that cause the clogs. This BioChoice, has it been around a long time? Is this a relatively new invention? Is this something that is just coming into its own in the last few years? How did it get developed? Do you have any idea?
Oh, sure. The manufacturer actually started out by building, I guess you would call it, for lack of a better term, building a bacteria for the yogurt that we eat, the culture. And they discovered that it was also a good friendly bacteria that would eat grease and fats and oils that's in your drain line system. So they just naturally adapted it to a product that consumers can use in their homes and businesses. And there's so many uses. It helps with the smells in your garbage disposal. If you have like a commercial kitchen restaurant or automotive business, the greasy film that you may get on the floor, you can put some in your mop bucket and use that to mop it. And the friendly bacteria will actually eat the grease and the oils and the fats that's on the surface. So there's many, many uses for it.
Wow, I didn't think about using it that way. We put it down our sink where we wash our hands at because, well, believe it or not, that grease that's on your hand, it'll clog your drains up. And we started using that a couple months ago. And it wasn't anything dramatic, but over a couple of months, the water seems to be flowing a little better, and we haven't had to normally take our compressed air in a rag and blow it out. That's normally what we have to do about once a month is blow all that stuff out. But this seems to be letting the pipes flow naturally without us having to do anything You know, like when you put compressed air on there, you're always taking a danger of blowing that bottom gooseneck out. I think that's what it's called.
Oh, you sure are.
And
Yeah.
I've done that more than once. And my guys always fuss at me because when it does, it makes a big mess. But this BioChoice does seem to be keeping that from clogging up. I guess that's where it stays for when you first put it in there for a few minutes, and just that amount of time it's in that grease trap seems to be dissolving, or those things in there that would cause the water to flow slowly out the drain.
That's right, and it's great for septic systems as well. And this time of the year is a good time to do your septic maintenance as well. That product will go in, and unlike some products that are granular in nature that you see advertised, this product is a live bacteria. As soon as you open the bottle, pour it into the drain, the bacteria goes to work and starts multiplying and increasing, and it'll end up in your septic system and eat the fats, oils, and grease that collect in there as well. It's just a good overall product.
All right. Wait, do you wash it down? Do you put it in there and wash it with hot water, or just let it sit there with no water? I mean, how should you put it down there in case somebody are interested?
Oh, well, so, part of the instructions, and on the back it'll give you some instructions on for septic maintenance, but when you put it into your toilet, flush it, it ends up into your either main drain that may go to the city system or your septic. In this case that we're speaking of, it will go directly into the septic, and that bacteria multiplies. As it has something to feed on, it multiplies and grows and duplicates, and so it's working all the time.
Wow. Okay, that sounds like almost reminded me of Soil Ain't Green when you talked about that. People were Soil Ain't Green.
And the only thing that disturbs it is something like a Clorox or chlorine or something caustic, or an antibacteria or an antibiotic.
I always forgot about that. So if people are on antibiotics and you're on a septic tank system, if you've been sick, your septic tank system is going to be sick as well because you've been taking the antibiotics that's passed through your system and gone into your septic tank system. Is that correct?
That's right.
Wow.
It's going to disturb those friendly bacteria that are naturally occurring in that septic system. So you need to replace it with something.
Talk about symbiotic relationships. I never thought of it that way, but it does. Your septic tank, how you feel, and the medicines you take, stay close to home, so to speak. They can help destroy your septic tank where it doesn't work like it's supposed to, where this stuff does like it's supposed to. That's pretty impressive. Scott, I want to thank you so much. We only got about 30 seconds left. Is there anything you'd like to tell our audience out there about Mr. Reuter Plumbing? Maybe your phone number?
Sure. Just give us a call at 763-2001, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's no extra charge on weekends, so if you want to schedule something on a Saturday, we'll be glad to come out at no extra charge.
That sounds wonderful. That's Scott Hobbs from Mr. Reuter Plumbing. Been in business. You're what? Are you second or third generation plumber now?
I'm actually third, and we've had some fourth generations that work in the business with us. So.
Well, that's even better. It's nepotism. It's the American way. Keep it in the family. All right. This is James Morris along with Scott Hobbs wishing you a very happy Monday morning, and we'll see y'all Tuesday morning. Bye-bye, everybody.
James Auto Center, we fix it right, guaranteed. Beep, beep.